They thought you were done. They laughed, walked away, wrote you off. But what they didn't realize was that pressure doesn't break you, it builds you. And when you rise, you come back stronger. That they talk about comebacks like they're easy. Like one day you wake up, scream in the mirror, and everything just falls into place. That's not real. You want the truth? The real comeback doesn't start with glory or momentum. It starts with pain, pure, unfiltered pain. That's the part no one glamorizes. The nights you sit alone, the disappointment, the self-doubt eating you alive, that pain becomes the blueprint. That's what forges you. People think pain is weakness. Nah, pain is your architect. It's designing something in you that soft lives will never understand. You ever been flat on your back, staring at the ceiling with no idea how the hell you're going to fix your life? I've been there. I've had nights where I laid in darkness, not because the lights were off, but because I couldn't afford to keep them on. I've sat there while my phone blew up with messages from people who only remembered me when they wanted something and forgot me when I had nothing. And in those moments, the world feels cold. You start asking questions like, why me? What did I do to deserve this? But the better question is, what can I build from this? When I was broke, humiliated, when everything was collapsing, the pain hit different. It wasn't just financial, it was spiritual. People think losing money is the worst part. No, losing belief in yourself, that's the real pain. But here's what pain did for me. It stripped the lies, the illusion, the fake friends, the comfort. It exposed what was weak in me, what needed to go. And it left behind only what was raw, real, and ready for war. That's what pain does. It tells you the truth even when the truth is ugly. I remember being laughed at, not behind my back, to my face. I remember being underestimated so viciously that even I started to doubt whether I was capable of coming back. But I made a decision in that moment. If I'm going to be in pain, I'll use it. If I'm going to cry, then I'll cry while moving forward. If I'm going to struggle, then I'll struggle with a purpose. You think winners are born in soft times? Nah, winners are built in the trenches, in the dirt. Pain taught me discipline. Pain taught me focus. Pain taught me to stop seeking sympathy and start seeking strength. You don't grow when everything's easy. You don't sharpen your mind when life's comfortable. You grow when your back's against the wall, when you've got nothing left but willpower. And I promise you, if you learn to listen to your pain instead of trying to run from it, it will show you exactly who you need to become. When I was grinding through the worst seasons of my life, I stopped wishing for things to be easier. I stopped waiting for help. I accepted the pain, welcomed it. And I said to myself, this is the gym. This is where the mental weights are lifted. This is where I train. Every rejection, a rep. Every failure, a set. Every heartbreak, more endurance. And I trained while everyone else took breaks. I built while others waited for motivation. I didn't let pain paralyze me. I weaponized it. You've got to understand nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's obligated to care. That's not negative. That's freedom. Because once you realize it's on you, once you stop blaming and start building, pain becomes your advantage. Most people run from it. But when you run toward it, when you own it, you start creating a version of yourself that scares the hell out of the old you. And I want you to know something. Every empire I've built, every win I've stacked, every result I've achieved, it started from a place of pain. I don't show the world my scars so they feel sorry. I show them so they understand. This didn't come easy. It came from hell. But I didn't stay there. I learned the map. I bled, I failed, I lost. But I kept moving. Because the comeback doesn't start with applause. It starts in the fire. And the deeper the fire, the stronger the steel. That pain you feel right now, it's not the end. It's the beginning. It's not your enemy. It's your opportunity. Use it. Don't just survive it. Build with it. Turn it into something so powerful that one day you look back and say, thank God I went through that. Because without that pain, you never would have become the strong that you want to make a real comeback. Then stop waiting. Stop waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and give you permission to become who you know you're meant to be. Life doesn't hand out golden tickets. No one's coming to knock on your door and say, it's your time now. That moment never comes unless you take it. You don't need validation. You don't need approval. You don't need support. What you need is to understand that it's already yours if you're willing to go and take it. I've been in rooms where I didn't belong. At least that's what they wanted me to believe. I've walked into meetings where they looked at me like I was in the wrong place. I've been dismissed with a glance, ignored in conversations, overlooked for opportunities I was more than qualified for. And for a while, I believed them. I thought maybe I needed to wait for my big break. Maybe I needed someone powerful to notice me, to open a door, to make a call on my behalf. But that's not how the game works. The harsh truth is, no one cares about your dreams more than you. And if you sit around waiting, they'll bury you with your potential still inside. When I was at rock bottom, and I mean completely down, broke, hated, and drowning in silence, I had a choice. Stay on the floor and wait for a miracle, or crawl out, even if it meant bleeding every step of the way. And I realized nobody was going to carry me. Nobody was going to say, "Here, let me fix your life for you." If I wanted to rise, I had to do it myself. So I stopped asking. I stopped begging. I stopped looking for the green light. I decided I was the green light. Most people never make a comeback because they stay in that waiting phase, waiting to be understood, waiting to be encouraged, waiting for some perfect moment that doesn't exist. And you know what that creates? A life of regret, a life of I wasn't willing to live like that. So I made a vow. From that point on, I'd move forward whether they clapped or not. I'd build whether they believed or not. I'd train whether I felt like it or not. And that's when everything started to change. People ask me all the time, "How did you do it?" And they expect some strategy, some secret code, some blueprint to success. But the truth is brutal. I decided to win. That's it. No one gave me a certificate that said, "You're ready now." No one cleared the path for me. I bulldozed through the obstacles. I carved my own lane. And I didn't ask for permission, because the second you wait for it, you've already lost your power. You've put your future in someone else's hands. The world trains you to wait. Through school, society, culture. They tell you, be patient, work your way up, play it safe. But what they're really saying is, stay small. That system isn't built to reward boldness. It's built to punish anyone who steps out of line, who dares to claim what hasn't been handed to them. And yet every legend you know, every giant you admire, they all stopped asking. They started taking. That's the mindset you need if you're serious about a comeback. I remember days when I'd make a move and people would say, "Who do you think you are?" And I'd smile because I knew exactly who I was. I didn't need their belief. I had my own. I didn't need their handouts. I had my hands. I didn't need their comfort. I had my mission. You want to change your life? Then walk into the room like you already own. Speak like your voice matters. Move like your future depends on it, because it does. The biggest trap people fall into is seeking permission from people who've never built anything themselves. They'll project their fear onto you, their limits, their excuses. And if you listen, you'll inherit their life. I wasn't willing to do that. I chose to be the author of my story. Even when no one was reading, even when the pages were messy, the ink was smudged, and the chapters felt like failure. I wrote anyway. I moved anyway. I claimed my space. And it was ugly at first. I was alone, misunderstood, doubted by the same people who now pretend they always believed in me. But that's how it works. The crowd doesn't show up until they see results. The praise doesn't come until you've already bled for the win. So don't chase their applause. Chase your own standard. That's how you earn respect. Not by asking, but by acting. You don't need a round of applause to take the first step. You need courage. The courage to be misunderstood, underestimated, and even mocked, and still go anyway. The comeback doesn't wait for permission. It kicks the door down. It walks in without being invited, and it owns the space. Because if you don't believe you belong, no one else will. You don't need permission. You need action. They're going to talk. They're going to label you. They're going to write your story like they know who you are, like they know where you're headed. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing the story they gave you. That's the most dangerous. Because when the world tells you you're finished, when people look you in the eyes and say, "You'll never make it back," and you start nodding along, that's when you lose. Not when you fall, not when you fail, but when you agree with them. That's where most people die mentally, spiritually, emotionally, because they give the pen away. They let someone else write their ending. I've been called every name you can think of. Liar, villain, failure. I've been judged by people who never spent a day in my shoes. I've had strangers craft narratives about me based on gossip, based on lies, based on what made them feel good. And for a while it used to bother me. I'd think, why do they hate me? Why do they lie? But then it hit me, none of it matters unless I let it. Their words don't define me unless I sit down and wear the costume they designed for me. I'm not here to play the character they wrote. I'm here to burn the damn script and write my own. That's what it means to control your narrative. To rip the pen back out of the world's hand and say, you're not here to be a side character in someone else's version of your life. You're the main character. You're the one who decides what the next chapter looks like. And I don't care how badly you've fallen, how deep the hole is, how ugly the past has been, the pen is still in your hand. The only question is, are you ready to start writing a new story, or are you just going to keep rereading the old one? There was a time I lost everything. I lost everything. Not just money, not just opportunities. I lost respect. I lost reputation. I lost peace. And people rushed in to fill the silence. They painted me as finished, a disgrace, someone who would never rise again. You know what I did? Nothing. I didn't fight them with words. I didn't defend myself in public. I didn't scream or beg for understanding. I built in silence. While they laughed, I lifted. While they mocked, I molded myself. Because I knew something they didn't, I still had the power to write the comeback. See, when you're low, when you're hated, when you're alone, that's the best time to take back your story. Because nobody's watching. Nobody expects anything. And when expectations are gone, pressure is gone. That's your moment of freedom. That's your chance to rewrite the entire thing without anyone's voice in your ear. But most people use that silence to cry, to doubt, to replay the failure over and over again in their head. I used it to strategize. I used it to train. I used it to evolve. The world doesn't give you a reset button. It gives you pain. And inside that pain is a pen, sharp, heavy, hard to hold sometimes. But it's yours. And every day you get a choice. Keep letting them define you or redefine yourself. You don't need to be the person you were yesterday. You don't need to be the version of yourself that failed. You don't need to stay loyal to a past that no longer serves you. That chapter is over. So stop reading it like it's the whole book. You've got more to write, more to live, more to prove not to them, but to you. There's power in deciding who you are. Real power. When I looked in the mirror and said, I'm not what they say I am, everything shifted. I started walking differently, talking differently, making moves with purpose again. I stopped shrinking, stopped hiding, because I realized if I don't own my name, someone else will slap a label on me that I'll wear for the rest of my life. And I refuse to carry their fiction into my future. No one's going to see the vision but you, that comeback you're chasing. It exists in your mind, not theirs. That version of you that's stronger, sharper, untouchable, it's waiting for you to believe in it. No one else is going to do that for you, so stop expecting understanding from people who are committed to misunderstanding you. They don't have to see the future you're building. You do. That's enough. I've built my life on this truth. They don't get to tell my story, and they don't get to tell yours. Whatever your past looks like, whatever names they've given you, whatever lies they've told, it doesn't matter. Because the moment you decide to take control, everything changes. Not overnight, not instantly, but consistently, quietly. Day by day, move by move, you reshape your identity. And by the time they realize you're not the same person, they won't even recognize you. So let them talk, let them write, let them point fingers. You just keep building because the comeback doesn't need explanation. It speaks for itself. Dove, you want to come back stronger? Then understand this right now. The grind is not optional. The grind is non-negotiable. You don't just wake up one day and say, I want to be great, and then sit back and hope the universe rewards your intentions. That's not how this works. You don't get to rise if you're not willing to suffer. You don't get to win if you're not willing to work when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when everything inside you is screaming to quit. That's when it's built. That's where the real comeback begins. When I was at my lowest, there wasn't some magical motivation. There wasn't some morning I woke up inspired and excited. Most days, it was the opposite. I woke up pissed off. I woke up tired. I woke up sick of seeing my life in pieces. And that's exactly why I moved. Not because I felt like it, but because I had no other option. My pride wouldn't let me rot where I was. My standards wouldn't let me sit there and accept defeat. And so I put my head down and I went to war with myself every single day. It's easy to grind when you're winning. It's easy to show up when things are going well. But can you keep moving when life's against you? When the money's gone, when the respect is gone, when you feel like no one believes in you anymore? Can you still push? That's the difference between those who come back stronger and those who stay broken. The ones who rise are the ones who show up regardless of what life throws at them. I remember waking up broke. And I don't mean just financially, I mean mentally, emotionally, spiritually bankrupt. And I didn't have the luxury to take a week off to reset. I didn't have the comfort of saying, let me find myself first. No, I had to work while I was lost. I had to build while I was broken. I had to train while I was uncertain. And every day I showed up, I gained a little more power back. Not overnight, slowly, relentlessly. The grind didn't save me immediately, but it did save me. People love to say they want to come back, but they don't want to sweat. They don't want the repetition. They don't want the monotony. They don't want the early mornings, the late nights, the missed parties, the sacrificed comfort. But let me tell you, everybody wants to be the lion until it's time to do what lions do. Everybody wants the crown, but no one wants to wait. If you truly want to come back stronger, you have to fall in love with the suffering. You have to embrace the lonely grind that nobody applauds. You think I built this life because I got lucky, because I had a perfect plan? No, I built it because I outworked everyone. I trained when they slept. I studied when they partied. I made moves when others hesitated. I didn't care if it was boring. I didn't care if it was hard. I didn't care if I was tired. I cared about the result. And every time I felt like quitting, I reminded myself, this pain is temporary, but the regret of quitting, that lasts forever. You have to stop negotiating with yourself. You say you want to come back, but you keep hitting snooze. You say you want to win, but you keep avoiding the discomfort. So winners don't do that. Warriors don't do that. When it's time to work, they work. They don't ask how they feel. They don't wait for inspiration. They move because they know what's at stake. And if you're serious about rebuilding your life, you better start treating your mission like it's life or death. Because in a way, it is. There's going to be days where everything inside you says, take it easy. Skip today. You've done enough. And those are the exact moments that matter the most. Because discipline is not about doing the right thing when it's easy. It's about doing it when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when you're exhausted, when nobody would blame you for taking a break. That's where greatness is born. Not in the spotlight, not in the victory speech, but in the dark, in silence, when you choose to keep going. I didn't get here because I was better. I got here because I refused to quit. I embraced the grind until the grind embraced me. I stopped looking at work as punishment and started seeing it as purification. Every drop of sweat, every repetition, every step forward was washing away the weakness. And by the time I looked up, I wasn't the same man. I was harder, sharper, stronger. And that's what the grind does. It transforms you into something untouchable. So don't ask if it'll be hard. It will be. Don't ask how long it'll take. It takes as long as it takes. Just show up every day, no matter what. Whether it's raining, whether you're broke, whether you're broken, show up anyway. Because the comeback doesn't respond to talk, it responds to work. Not everyone wants to be calm. Everyone talks about peace, staying centered, staying grounded. And I get that. But let me tell you something that most people won't admit. Anger is a gift. That fire you feel when you're disrespected, when you're doubted, when you've been betrayed or forgotten, that's fuel. It's energy. It's power. The problem is most people waste it. They explode, they complain, they self-destruct. But if you learn how to control that fire, how to bottle that rage and use it to build, not break, you become unstoppable. There were times in my life where I was angry every single day. Angry at the situation, angry at myself, angry at people who smiled in my face and stabbed me the second I turned around. And for a long time, I thought that anger was eating me alive. I thought I had to bury it, hide it, suppress it. But then I realized, no, I just had to learn how to use it. I had to harness it like a weapon. I wasn't going to pretend to be at peace while the world laughed at my downfall. I wasn't going to fake being calm while I was being kicked. I let that fire grow inside me and I turned it into fuel. I didn't sit there whining about how people treated me. I didn't go around looking for sympathy. I trained. I built. Every time someone said I was finished, I did another set. did another set. Every time someone told me I couldn't, I made another move. That anger pushed me to wake up early, to stay late, to outwork every soft excuse maker who thought success was owed to them. While they slept peacefully in their comfort, I was sharpening my sword. And trust me, I remember everything. Every name, every doubt, every fake handshake. I used it all. I don't want you to pretend you're okay when you're not. I don't want you to fake a smile when you've been betrayed. I want you to take every bit of that pain and transmute it into action. Let it drive you to do what they said you couldn't. Let it push you further than comfort ever could. That's the thing. Comfort never built anyone strong. Anger did. Hunger did. Pressure did. That edge you feel, that's not something to medicate away. It's something to train. I remember the lowest point of my life. I was alone, attacked, misunderstood, mocked by people who didn't know a single thing about me, but were more than happy to tell the world who I was. And I sat there watching everything crumble. And you know what I felt? Not sadness, not fear, rage, pure rage, fall. But instead of letting it destroy me, I looked at myself in the mirror and said, okay, let's go to war. I stopped seeking peace and started seeking revenge. Not with violence, not with drama, with results. I was going to make sure they never forgot what happens when you try to break a man like me. That's the level you need to reach. You don't suppress the anger, you master it. You don't deny it, you direct it. Let it fuel the workout. Let it fuel the business. Let it fuel the late night grind and the early morning discipline. Because when the pain fades, when the tears dry, when the distractions vanish, all that's left is that fire. And if it's still burning, you're not done yet. Too many people let anger turn inward. They start blaming themselves. They lose confidence. They shrink. But I'm telling you, stand up. Let it make you bigger. Let it turn you into a machine. When I was down, I didn't pray for mercy. I prayed for the strength to dominate. I didn't ask for understanding. I asked for the mindset to not need it. And that anger, that storm in my chest, it made me sharper than I've ever been. Now people look at me and say, you've changed. Damn right I changed. That's what pain does. That's what betrayal does. It burns away the weakness. It kills the old version of you that used to care what people thought. And from those ashes, you rise stronger. You rise colder. Not bitter, clear, focused, determined you don't come back to make friends. You come back to win. You come back with scars, with purpose, with a look in your eyes that says, you should have never doubted me. This isn't about being angry forever. This is about using it until you've built a life so powerful that you no longer need it. But until that day comes, let it drive you. Let it fuel every rep, every move, every decision. Let them keep talking. Let them laugh. Just make sure that when they look again, they're staring at the empire you built from the ashes of their doubt. Because the real revenge isn't in yelling back. It's in leveling up so hard, so fast, so undeniably that even your silent scream success don't make your comeback about them. Don't do it to prove them wrong. Don't rise just to get revenge or to hear them say, you were right. That's not power. That's still giving them control. If you really want to come back stronger, do it for you. Do it because deep down you know you were never meant to stay broken. Do it because there's a version of you that's sharper, stronger, more dangerous, and it's waiting for you to become it. You come back not for their approval. You come back because you refuse to die in a place you don't belong. When I was broken, completely down, hated, left for dead, there was no applause waiting for me. No validation. No one saying, come on, you got this. Because for a while, I had been living for the reaction. Trying to win for the claps. Trying to succeed so people would say I was right. But when it all came crashing down, I realized how empty that was. Because those same people I was trying to impress, they disappeared. They weren't around when I was on my knees, when I had to look at myself and admit that no one was coming to save me. That's when I made the shift. That's when I understood the power of coming back for myself. You have to stop chasing their recognition, their validation, their attention. Because let's be honest, most of them don't even respect success. They envy it. They hate it. And even when you win, they'll twist it. They'll say you got lucky, you cheated, you changed. You'll never satisfy people who are committed to misunderstanding you. So why try? Why waste time trying to earn points in a game that was rigged from the start? I remember being broke. I remember being humiliated, betrayed, lied about. And for a while, I had a chip on my shoulder. I wanted revenge. I wanted them to choke on my success, and it worked for a bit. It got me up, it got me moving, but it didn't sustain me because anger is short-term fuel. It's explosive, but the fire that burns longest, the one that carries you through the darkest seasons, is built on self-respect, on discipline, on the fact that you won't quit on yourself. That's what lasts. That's what's real. When I started grinding purely for me, for the standard I held myself to, for the life I knew I was born to live, everything changed. I stopped looking for external rewards. I stopped checking who was watching. I didn't need them to clap. I didn't need them to believe. I started showing up because I owed it to myself. Because after everything I'd been through, there was no way I was going to end my story as a victim. That wasn't an option. I had to become the version of me that survived everything thrown his way and still stood tall. The truth is, nobody truly knows your fight. They only see the results. They don't see the nights you cried in silence, the mornings you didn't want to get out of bed, the moments you questioned whether life was worth rebuilding. They see the success and assume it was easy. But you know the hell you walked through to be here, and that's why your comeback has to be personal. It has to mean something to you. Because if you're still chasing applause, you're still performing. And performance is temporary. But discipline, that's forever. When I made the decision to rebuild my life, I did it quietly. I didn't announce it. I didn't post about it. I just went to work. I cut off distractions. I locked in. I bled. I failed. I stumbled. And I kept going. And I did it with zero fanfare. No congratulations, no audience. Just a relentless hunger to become undeniable, not in their eyes, but in my own. That's where the real strength lives. When you can look in the mirror and say, I earned this, and you don't need a single person to agree. Because the truth is, nobody's going to clap until you win. Nobody cares until it's obvious. So if you're waiting for support, stop. Be your own backup. Be your own fuel. Come back because you're not finished yet. Because there's more inside you. Because quitting would be an insult to the version of you that kept going when everything was crumbling. And when you finally rise, and you will rise, you won't even care who noticed. Because the win won't be for them. It'll be for you. So don't do it to prove them wrong. Do it to prove to yourself that you're always right about you. This isn't just a comeback. It's your rebirth. And when you rise this time, you won't just return, you'll return unrecognizable, stronger, sharper, unstoppable.